in your postgraduate still, right?
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
very end. Yeah.
At the very end. So what has the process been like for you from your undergraduate to your postgraduate degree?
Okay.
The flow of things.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. It's a marathon. It definitely is a marathon. And I did take about a year break between my bachelor and pursuing honours. And for anyone thinking of doing that, I highly recommend it, because that was when I got to actually get my boots on the ground. And I used to work in youth justice. So I worked with young offenders aged 10 to 21 who committed very, very heinous crimes: murder, manslaughter, rape, aggravated robbery, torture. I had 2 girls that I worked with who were in there for torturing a disabled adolescent. And that was, honestly, I learned so much in that 1 year in youth justice, probably even more than I've ever learned, through traditional study. So that's why I recommend work experience. And that's not to say you can't do that during your degree. There's lots of students who choose to do like volunteering programs, victim support programs, independent prison visitor schemes. And there's even a great charity we've got in Victoria. I forgot what it's called. I think it's Shine or something. And basically it's about having people who can drive children whose parents are in prison, drive them to and from prison. It's like one of those little things that we don't think about, but of course you want to try and maintain a relationship between the child and their parents. So literally even experiencing that in a volunteer capacity is something I would definitely recommend, because you get to learn about the family that you're working with, speak with the children who are, I guess, victimized in their own right, even though they're part of the offender's family. They definitely suffer. So yeah, it's just a marathon. It's definitely a marathon. And my suggestion would be to try and take breaks and try and engage with the actual system, rather than, I'm not saying like take a traditional break, like go on, I mean, you can go on holiday, but also try and have a bit of experience with the system itself.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I took a year off myself between my bachelor and my honours, and it's just to have a breather.
Yeah.
To have a moment. And like I said, like that was my opportunity to make connections. I started working in the courts so that I could make those connections with the judges and that sort of stuff. So it's really good to take that step back and take the time to absorb what you've learned before you jump into the next one. I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Breaks are really good for the brain.
Yeah.
So this is just a random question I just came up with, by the way. Youth justice, did it actually further your future studies? Like, did it influence your future studies? Working in the youth justice system with the victims or not really victims, but
Yeah, the offenders.
Offenders, that's the word.
I mean, to be fair though, 99% of the kids I worked with were first and foremost victims. Victims of family violence, domestic violence, whatever, and then they became offenders. So even though you're working with offenders, you're also working with victims at the same time. And I think in Crim we've got this separation of, or this dichotomy that, okay, someone's either a victim or an offender, and that's not the case. They can be both. Sorry, what was the question?
Did it like influence your further studies?
Oh, did it influence? Yeah. Look, probably not. Probably the moment that I graduated and I saw Mary, that was the influencing factor. But it did cross my mind about potentially doing honours or PhD in youth justice. So I guess it inspired me to think about the system and think about how I could apply it to honours or PhD.
That's really cool. Who likes that? So the process, what has that been like for you for your PhD? Like, how has it worked to get into the PhD for you?
Yeah, okay. So basically, you do your honours year. So that's a year you do a small thesis of, when I did it was 16,000 words. I'm not sure if it's increased or decreased or whatever. I think back in the day, it used to be 20,000 words. Now it's 16. So I did that, and that sounds like a lot of words, but it's actually not. Most of the honours students tend to find that they're running out of words. They've got to try and cut back because they've gone way over. And it was the same. It was the same for my PhD too. With my PhD, I had obviously there's a limit of between 80,000 and 100,000. And when you're starting the PhD journey, you're like, oh my goodness, that's so many words. How am I possibly going to write that much? But yeah, I'm at the end and I'm 20,000 words over, and you're like, how did that happen? So my advice would be not to let the word count daunt you or put you off. Just go with it type of thing. And the words will come naturally as you research and discuss what you're researching.
Do you actually like work with other people when you're writing your PhD and stuff, or is it all just your words?
That's a good question. I would say it's pretty much my words. It's just you obviously collaborate with your primary supervisor and your associate supervisor, and they'll make suggestions. But the words are pretty much just yours, which is quite beautiful. It's you on a page, or right now I think I'm up to 300 and something pages, but that's me. So it's quite beautiful, but I could never do it without the supervision of my supervisors. They've been amazing.
Do you think you'll ever end up publishing your PhD thesis, or?
Yeah, I think I will. I think I might break it down into journal articles.
Mm-hmm.
That way it's not like because I feel like no one's going to not even my parents are going to read it. You know what I mean? So, so I think if I break it down into manageable bite sizes, then it'll have a better chance of being read. So that's definitely something I'm looking at in the future. But first, I just want to
finish it.
Breathe for a minute. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's really cool.